Liberty Nation. Truth is making a comeback.
Hi, Leesa K. Donner here for Liberty Nation, and with me today for our weekly roundtable on all things political is my better half, Tim Donner, our political correspondent, Graham J. Noble, and our national columnist, Sarah Cowgill. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Everybody have a nice 4th?
Absolutely.
Good.
Well,
Yes.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the left and the Democrats, and are they in free fall? Are they in an apocalyptic situation, as Sean Hannity put it the other day? Tim, why don't we start with you? What's your assessment of the state of affairs with the Democrats?
Well, you know, the Democrats have engaged in what our own Jeff Charles has written on LibertyNation.com, describing it as cultural totalitarianism. And consider some of the things that I covered in a column of my own about the left's new standards of immorality. What they consider immoral is the enforcement of laws duly passed by Congress, particularly regarding immigration, the chief executive exerting his inarguable constitutional authority, very existence of ICE, and a president fulfilling a core campaign promise. These are all immoral to the left. Now, here's what they don't consider immoral: openly defying federal law and creating illegal sanctuary cities, defending the honor of illegal immigrant gangs who use machetes to murder their victims, shutting down practitioners of free speech in academia, calling those who disagree with them fascists and Nazis, threatening and intimidating members of the president's administration as they attempt to simply dine in peace, and whipping a crowd into a frenzy by demanding that they carry on their hate-filled resistance, not just to Donald Trump, but to civilized behavior itself. Now, if they think this is a winning strategy for the midterms, go ahead, bring it on. Because as Leesa has said, the blue wave has turned into a blue trickle.
Graham.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, what he said. And in addition...
You don't have to say anything now, right?
It's a ditto. I think the problem is, of course, and we all know that a big part of their problem is that they have no cohesive platform. And I think where they've really gone wrong is because for so many years in this country, the left has actually advanced in the culture war. They've actually advanced gradually, and conservatives have retreated gradually. And they've been winning this whole war, this whole ideological war, actually for years in small increments. And that's, of course, what the left always did. That's what made them so clever, is that they would just take one small victory at a time. But all of a sudden, they have the party has kind of finally ripped itself open ideologically, and you've got the kind of the real progressives and socialists on one side, and then you've got the kind of democratic establishment trying to maintain some semblance of being a party of adults. And I think what they've done is they kind of they've jumped the shark a bit. Instead of now being still wanting to score those little victories and chip away at the ideological battle, they've just said no. Now we just want it all of a sudden. We're no longer content with the little victories. We want everything our way all the time, and we're not going to settle for anything less. And I think that's the problem, because the rest of America is suddenly looking at them and going, well, these people are crazy. You know, they're not even, there's not even any pretense at any kind of compromise anymore. It's just, no, we want everything our way, or we're going to throw our toys out of the pram. And that's really the problem.
Sarah,
Yes.
you have been saying for a while now that the Democrats were imploding. I mean, this has really been, you've been beating this drum, I think long before anybody else caught on to this. What did you see? What keyed you into that fact?
They're just nuts. I mean, I've never seen a group of people more despondent over a duly won election by a man they didn't like. That's happened for hundreds of years, by the way, because most people that win an election aren't liked by everybody. So, you know, they started to unravel. They have no message, zip for a message. And it's like they're sitting around a table brainstorming in a marketing group, you know, what's going to work. And hey, let's do hate. Yeah, that works. Let's call everybody a racist. Oh, that's working. Let's call everybody a misogynist. That's working. Let's, you know, harass anybody that doesn't agree with us. And none of it is working. It's doing the exact opposite. It's backfiring in amazingly crazy levels. I mean, people are flooding out of that Democratic Party. They're either going back to Bernie or they're looking for Trump people.
Tim, do you think that the Democrats have reason to be apocalyptic over the Supreme Court nomination of Brett Kavanaugh?
Not nearly as apocalyptic as they will feel when Trump gets a third shot at the apple and appoints or nominates a justice who would make it a 6-3 court, which would basically be an impenetrable constitutional majority on the court. As far as this particular naming of a justice, they're going to experience problems in the social area because gay marriage might be in jeopardy. Roe versus Wade might be in jeopardy, or let's put it this way, the absolutism of abortion rights. But yes, they do have reason to be upset about this because they know that the court has just taken a decisive, small but decisive turn to the right with Justice Anthony Kennedy leaving. They can't even count on him to break away from the constitutional majority, as he has done from time to time, such as with Roe versus Wade, which he sustained back in the 1990s with his vote, and of course with Obergefell, which establishes the right to gay marriage as a constitutional right. So yes, they can see nothing but rollbacks. The best they can hope for, Leesa, is that none of the things they've already gained are rolled back. That's the very best they can hope for, but I think that's very unlikely.
Okay, Graham, I think it was Liberty Nation Legal Affairs editor Scott Cosenza who said, you know, if the left had to, they would roll Ruth Bader Ginsburg in with a catheter. And, you know, do you believe that he is actually going to get a third bite at the apple? And do you believe they should be this upset over all this?
Well, I personally don't believe they should be upset about it. I mean, I don't really think that any American should be upset about the idea that we're going to have a majority on the Supreme Court who are, you know, they're called various things, originalists and various other terms in that manner. But I don't think any American should be upset about the fact we have a majority on the Supreme Court who will rule not according to political ideology, but according to what the law and the Constitution says. I think that's a great thing. But of course, yes, I fully understand that they are incredibly upset. And as Tim pointed out, they're going to, you know, you ain't seen nothing yet. I mean, wait until RBG, you know, decides to call it a day. And actually, to be honest, it's a little pet theory of mine, but I think that Trump absolutely won't be too long now at all before he has another shot at nominating a Supreme Court justice, because I believe that now it is quite possible that Ruth Bader Ginsburg may feel, after Gorsuch and now Kavanaugh, that she essentially is, you know, I don't believe that she will no longer feel that she has a position to defend on the Supreme Court.
Right. In other words, yeah, what's the point of hanging on?
I believe that she might actually think that. She might actually think now it's, but you know, it's like, what more can I do now? And maybe, maybe it's time to give those, with all due respect, Justice Ginsburg, maybe it's time to give those old bones a rest finally.
Well, with all due respect to Graham, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is what I call a pine box justice, which means I believe the only way that she leaves the Supreme Court is in a pine box with no pulse, because she knows perfectly well that maybe she doesn't have a place on the court still in terms of writing any opinions that will carry the majority. But she knows that if she leaves, the person who Trump appoints will probably assure a constitutional, strict constructionist, originalist, textualist majority for several generations to come. So I respectfully disagree with Graham. I doubt that she would. And even if she wanted to, I think the left would probably object to the point where she would be harassed and wouldn't be permitted, literally wouldn't be permitted to leave. And the left has proven they will do whatever it takes, whether it's unethical, illegal, or unconstitutional, to make sure that they continue with the power that they've had. And let's not forget, they've always used the courts, particularly in recent years, as effectively a legislative body, because they cannot get through what they want through the Congress, so they rely on the courts to reinterpret the Constitution with penumbras and emanations and the things that you saw in Roe versus Wade.
All right.
Actually, Tim,
go ahead.
sorry.
Graham.
I'm just going to put a final thought in there. This is why the biggest, the greatest kind of battleground state between right and left in this country really has been, over the last couple of decades, has really been, Texas and Georgia are important, but actually Florida is most important. And the reason why Florida is important is because the left is trying still to find the fountain of youth so that they can keep Ginsburg on that court forever.
All right, Sarah, you're the first to key in on this, so I'm going to give you the last word.
Well, I kind of agree with Tim on this one, but I can tell you, if she does croak, the left will desecrate her grave or dig her up and put her butt black robed back on that bench, because they're not going to let anything else happen until it's a finality. She can't just quit. I mean, look at all of the backlash on Kennedy. I mean, God, you would have thought he'd ran over his dog. I mean, it was just ridiculous. The left is blaming him for everything now. So they'll turn on their own. They will do that. But I fully believe she will just exit stage left naturally, and Trump will get another one in there.
All right. Thank you, Tim, Graham, and Sarah. And thank you all for watching. Remember to like and subscribe so that you can perhaps win a LibertyNation.com hat. I'm Leesa K. Donner. Have a great week.
Subscribe and like this video. LibertyNation.com, where truth is making a comeback.